Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rock Shop with Ralph. My guest today made his bones with the Brooklyn-based band Tyketto. 1991, their debut album "Don't Come Easy" spawned the hit single "Forever Young." I know you remember that song. He also released his latest album, which is called "Myths, Legends, and Lies." Let's give it up for Danny Vaughn.
How's it going, Ralph?
I am on cloud nine right now because I was just telling you. I was just telling you how much I've been a fan of yours and the band for years. Lost touch a little bit as most bands that got caught up in the so-called grunge era do. I lost touch with you guys for a little bit, but then you guys picked it up in the late 2000s and you're releasing a lot of solo stuff now and another side project which we'll talk about. But how you doing?
I'm good. It's summertime down here in the south of Spain, so it's hot, but we're doing okay, just like everybody else, turning on the news every day and wondering what our lives are going to be like this week.
Right, I know, right? And that's kind of weird, man, because I remember you guys hanging out in, I used to hang out in Lemoore, which we'll talk about, the rock capital of Brooklyn.
Absolutely.
That's where Tyketto made their bones. And now you're in Spain. How did that happen?
Well, the short answer is, I chased a woman here.
Okay.
But I moved to Europe in 2004. I started living in Ireland first because I realized that whatever career I have in front of me, the European audiences were just more open to, and it wasn't cost effective to fly from America to Europe. By the time I got here, I'd already spent the tour money just to get there.
Yeah.
So it became a lot easier for me, thank goodness it was the age of when budget airlines started up. And I was able to fly in between European countries and do tours, and it's kind of kept the whole thing alive. So
Right.
Plus, I got to be honest. I mean, we won't get into politics or whatever, but I was living in Nashville at the time, like 2003, and that was part 2 of the George W. Bush administration. The stuff that's going on now, the stuff that Trump brought out in people, that started then.
Started back then.
People were very angry.
Yeah.
Americans were just getting angrier and angrier, and I just wasn't comfortable anymore.
I want to say this. This seems to be a running theme over the past year with a lot of the interviews I've been doing. The band Tyketto, they come out in 1991. They release one of the better albums that I've heard in a long time. And I've said this to Johnny Gioeli from Hardline, who's on your label, Frontiers. What if you're still on it? I don't know. We'll talk about that. Johnny Gioeli, you guys, Tyketto, Badlands, Great Chase Sons band, Badlands, all came out around that era. And you guys, Johnny Gioeli, and the late Ray Gillen have the 3 best voices I've heard coming out from that era. When you sing, we understand what you're saying. We can hear we understand every word. We understand every lyric. And your songs tell a story. You're a songwriter. And then what happens is you come out with the great album, the first album, and then all of a sudden grunge hits and you guys get screwed because everybody starts wearing plaid and putting their plaid shirts around their waist, wearing Doc Martens, and this music falls by the wayside. And like I was telling you, that's kind of where I lost you guys. But I'm jumping ahead a little bit. But let's talk about the debut album. Tyketto, Don't Come Easy. I've seen you guys, rock capital of Brooklyn, Lemoore, produced by Richie Zito, who was one of my favorite producers of that era.
Yeah, he was very hot at the time, too.
Right. He came off of Heart's Brigade, which had that hit song, All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You. He produced Eddie Money's Can't Hold Back, which had Take Me Home Tonight on it. He produced Cheap Trick, Lap of Luxury, which had The Flame on it. I mean, I could keep going on about, and also later on, he produced Poison's Native Tongue, which is one of their better albums. Anyway, tell me, how did your debut album come about? How'd you guys get your record deal? We'll start from the beginning.
Well, I mean, we did something that I think was unique at the time. Now it gets done much more often, but we just called it Rock and Roll Boot Camp. The short end of the story is that once I had assembled, I was coming off of the band Wasted, so I kind of had a little bit of international clout. I knew people in the business. And I realized that opportunity just wasn't going to be knocking on my door. I did a couple of auditions, which I could tell you about after, and they didn't go so well. I was like, what's going on? I'm this famous singer. Why isn't anybody picking me up? So your ego takes a good and well-deserved pounding. And I suddenly realized if I was going to do it, I was going to start from scratch. So we got the personnel together, and Michael Arbini was the first call I made because we had met a year or so before doing a drum demo that he was submitting to Whitesnake to try and be their drummer. He came in third, I think. And thank God for me, he did. And why they ended up choosing Ainsley Dunbar, I don't know, because it was a weird fit. But anyway, but that was a phone number I kept. I was like, that guy I'm keeping in touch with. So once we got the personnel assembled from various, parts all around, the idea was to find a place where the band could live together and could also rehearse in the same complex, which we got very lucky and found. So we were able to spend on
Staten Island.
No, this is in Jersey.
Jersey. Okay.
So kind of down by Jersey Shore, like around Neptune area. It's crazy stuff, man. How this all came to be, I don't know. But we found a guy who had a underwater demolition company.
Nice.
Right? Like high level stuff,
Everybody has that.
Yeah, exactly. He scuba dived and would blow up like the foundations of old bridges that were sunk deep in rivers and stuff like that.
Wow.
Well, his company went bankrupt. He had this huge space, and there were offices up on level 1. And then you went down like a corridor and down some steps, and there was a massive area where he had like all the gear stored, and there was like demo space to show off all the equipment and things like that. So when he went under, one of the requirements of his bankruptcy was that he keep a security staff living on the premises at all times.
Here they come.
What does he do? He gets a rock band. I don't remember how we hooked up with him. The guy was nuts.
Wow.
And so we didn't know that was the reason. He was just like, yeah, I'll help you guys out. I got a place. And it was cool. We took all the offices. Everybody had a bedroom. And like I said, you went down the corridor, down the steps, and we had this massive space, like the size of a small club with, drum risers set up, the amps, everything like that. So whenever we needed money, Michael's brother would like hire us to do some really hard manual labor in Staten Island. He put up a lot of like the heavy duty fences around properties and stuff like that.
Right.
Otherwise, we would sit and write and play 5 hours a day, every day. So we were like getting ahead of our, other bands quickly because the stuff was getting written and worked and all that. And then so the first call you make is because we are old Lemoore people, and the Parente brothers now were managing White Lion. They were managing
Loud and Proud.
Yeah, they were managing Overkill. Later on, they picked up Eric Gales and Tora Tora. I think we were the third band. And so we went to them and said, look, we're putting this thing together. We're building it from scratch. They knew Michael. They knew me. They knew Jimmy. Brooke was the only one because he was from Wisconsin, Minnesota area. And so we played for them, gave them the songs. They were like, all right, we like this. They became our developers. We were then shifted to rehearsing at Lemoore later on. And, that's where, you'd see us all the time.
Our capital of Brooklyn, baby.
And they were the ones who made the inroads with all the record companies that got a nice little bidding war started for us. This was all in less than 2 years.
Cool.
Because when you got like the ear of the guys at Lemoore, we got all the cream of the opening gigs. Bullet Boys were hot and they came in. Tyketto, right. Skid Row was hot. They came in.
I seen it firsthand. I just want to fill people in on the gap of Lemoore because there's some younger kids out there, Danny. Lemoore was the rock capital of Brooklyn. This is before the internet. This is before all the big clubs. There was a club called Lemoore in Brooklyn where on any given night you can see Metallica, Anthrax, Overkill, Danger, Tyketto, who I've seen many times, White Lion, Tora Tora, like you said. Okay, these bands were on there on a daily basis. People walking around. Michael Arbini, who he's calling him, his stage name back then was Michael Clayton, which I get a kick out of because Michael Clayton was the George Clooney movie. It was funny. But and I remember sitting at a bar at Lemoore drinking with Michael Clayton, and he told me that he was in a band called Dreamer with Vito Bratta from White Lion. That's how I found that out. That was before the internet. That's the little gap I'm trying to fill in. But anyway, Lemoore was the rock capital of Brooklyn, everyone. Look it up. I mean, and I'm telling you, the bands that went out of there, and that's how I met Tyketto and got to be a fan of theirs. The Parente brothers were Loud and Proud Management, which were downstairs from Lemoore, and they managed White Lion as well. And that's where Danny was just saying. That's where he's picking up the story.
The other thing about Lemoore that's worth noting is that, and this is one of the only times I've ever heard of this. First of all, in its heyday, it's when they had its original setup. I think it held over 1,200 people. It was a big club like Hammerjack.
This played there.
Well, that was the thing. Huge bands would play either Brendan Byrne Arena or Madison Square Garden, and then go play Lemoore that night.
Yep.
Maiden did it, Accept did it, Kiss did it.
Yep.
When I was in Wasted, we did it. We opened up for Iron Maiden. We came down and played at Lemoore, and then Steve Harris joined us on stage at like 3 a.m. or something ridiculous.
Awesome, right, Danny? And by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Wasted had Paul Chapman from UFO. Those of you who just started to get into Danny Vaughn. I mean, I know he has a lot of fans, but some of the newer ones, if you're starting with Danny Vaughn, he started in Wasted, who had Paul Chapman.
Right. Yeah, and Pete Way, both.
And Pete Way. That's why it's called Wasted. Duh. But yeah, I mean, that was great times, man. Great times. That's how I got to be a fan of Tyketto. So you released the debut album. Richie Zito produces it. You have a hit with Forever Young.
Right.
And then you start going on tour. Who do you got on tour? You went on tour with Nelson, correct?
We did some some lower key stuff to warm up first. We did a fairly miserable tour with Blue Oyster Cult first.
Long Island Boys.
Yeah, they just weren't very warm, fuzzy people.
Come on, Don't Fear the Reaper? You expect them to be?
Yeah.
You guys have Forever Young?
It's a shame, too, because they're a great band. I love them.
Yeah.
They were just, they've been there, done that. They just weren't the opening band who was, all full of piss and vinegar anyway.
Wow.
We had a shot at opening up for Yngwie Malmsteen, and we lost that because we did one show with him, and his wife loved us. So he said, nope, not them.
That's it. You cannot do that. No way.
There were a few other things that kind of came and went here and there, but the big tour was with Nelson, and that
right when they hit it big with After the Rain.
Yeah, they were number one. After the Rain was number one, and we got in because House of Lords was supposed to open, and something happened. Either someone got sick or whatever, and they couldn't. So our A&R, one of our A&R people, the famous John Kolodner, made a phone call and said, try Tyketto out. And we had to drive from Staten Island to Missouri in one day.
Wow.
And walk on stage, and that we had like 3-4 shows with them. And if it worked out, we got the rest of the summer tour. And it did work out. They are fantastic people. They were an amazing band. The guys,
Bobby Rock on drums.
Yeah, Bobby Rock. Gosh. And unfortunately, their guitar player, bless him, he just passed away.
Oh, Joey Cathcart.
Joey Cathcart just passed away. And he was such a wonderful person.
Yeah.
And a really great performer and guitar player. Yeah. So, I mean, that was like a big time for us. We were playing outdoor festivals, mostly in front of prepubescent girls and their moms. That was the Nelson.
You guys were like the poor man's Bon Jovi.
A little bit. Yeah. A little bit.
One thing I want to say, which I remember, and let's see if you remember this, because this is the Tyketto fan that I am. I remember you guys got an award from the Masons Association because you had the bricks behind you in the video. And a lot of these guys, listen, I'm Italian from Queens. A lot of these guys were my cousins and uncles. They gave you an award. What was it, from the Masons Association for bricklayers?
Bricklayers Association of America. We got the best use of brick in a music video award. But wait for it.
There's more.
Yeah, if you look at the video, Forever Young, it's out there, 4 million views, going strong.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's up to 5.3.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So that was shot on a Hollywood movie lot where they were doing they did Cagney and Lacey there. There were a few others that were going on at the time. You ready for this?
I'm here.
That brick wall is completely fake.
All right.
We didn't have the heart to tell him.
Don't tell my cousins that.
No, they had 2 girls about 5'4" roll the whole thing in on a week.
God.
It was only about 3 inches thick.
And Danny, you see, you come on my show. I know my stuff. Who the hell would have remembered that?
And the guy who presented, I didn't go to that award ceremony. Michael and Jimmy did, and Iggy Pop gave him the award. So that was cool as hell.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the band. We mentioned Brooks St. James, Jimmy Kennedy. Now, is he Michael Arbini now or Michael Clayton?
He's actually Michael Clayton Arbini now.
Okay. All right. Listen, tell him I said hello. He was a great guy. You guys both were great guys. I got to say this. I'm telling you, and I'm not tooting my own horn. I hung out in Lemoore a lot, and you guys were the most gracious, quote unquote, rock stars. You guys hung out, you drank, you talk, you bullshit. It was great. It really was great. You deal with. I'm sure you.
We still do all that except the drinking. That's gone down a bit.
Okay, all right, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, you guys would sit and have a drink. That's how I found out about Vito Bratta, who.
Yeah.
To this day, I still wish he would come out of retirement and do something.
Yeah, I know. Everybody does.
I know, but that's a whole other story. But tell Michael I said hello. He was one of the cool guys. Sure. Thank you, and I hope to see him soon. But let's talk about some of the songs, and then we'll move on. I just want everybody to understand this. If you're just meeting Danny Vaughn now, if you're a fan of Danny Vaughn's, whatever it is, and you don't have the debut album, please go out and get it. These songs on there stand the test of time, and I'll give you 3 or 4 songs that you could just start with. The first one was Forever Young. It's like sort of like a living on a prayer, struggling to make ends meet type of song. Okay. My favorite song of all time from them is called Burning Down Inside, which is by far one of the best on the album. And you could even go down with Standing Alone, Seasons, Sail Away. I'm going to go through all of them. Nothing But Love. I mean, just start with this album and you will not be disappointed. Okay. Debut album, Don't Come Easy by Tyketto.
Yeah, and you can't easily get it on CD now, which before you couldn't.
Yes, I know it was out for a while.
Rock Candy Records re-released it, so it's available at a reasonable price, as it apparently didn't used to be.
Awesome. And my fans are fans of, we're big on melodic hard rock. Johnny Gioeli, Hardline, was on. You guys know he's a friend of mine.
Yeah, I know Johnny.
Him, Danny Vaughn, Badlands, all 3 of those bands got screwed by the grunge era, which seems to be a running theme from the guests that I have on the show, some of them. And your second album, and I remember you guys were talking about recording your second album, and I remember Michael Clayton say, Kevin Elson is producing it. We're trying to get a little bit of a harder edge, because that's when the musical climate was changing. And you came out with Strength in Numbers, but it didn't come out for 3 years later because you lost the record deal with Geffen, correct?
We had finished the album, had mastered it. Everything was done except the artwork. They'd even gone so far, and this is going to date us a little bit here, but they had sent out advanced blank cassettes of the album to radio stations, which is what they do to sort of entice them. Hey, here's what's coming. They'd gone that far. And then some bean counter in the accounting department went, nah, we never recouped from the first album. Drop them. And that was it.
My God.
Now, to their credit, I have never heard of this happening to anyone else. I don't know who's the source of it, but my heart tells me it was John Kolodner that did this.
Gave you money?
Geffen gave us, they spent, that album cost like $75,000, $100,000. They gave us the master tapes and said, if you can get someone to release this, go with God.
Which you did.
Yeah.
You went to where everybody else went to at that time, CMC International.
Yeah, and Music for Nations. Which
that's where a lot of bands went. Warrant went there. Dee Schneider was there. Great White. A lot of the bands from our era, late 80s, early 90s, that got pigeonholed with the music and got fucked by the grunge era went over to CMC.
Yeah, which was probably a bad move for all of us. CMC did not work out well. Music for Nations, however, was one of the best companies I've ever dealt with.
You know what, Danny? That's why pencils have erasers, right? We all learn, and we're privileged to be where we are now. We learn from our mistakes, and at least you were there. At least you got to live it. And Strength in Numbers was the second album. One of the highlights of that album. There's a couple of them. I don't want to mention this. I love the song "Rescue Me." I love that song. One of the songs was written by James Lomenzo from White Lion. He actually played in Pride and Glory. He played in Megadeth. Ain't That Love? And there was another song written by Mark Hudson, who wrote the hit Living on the Edge with Aerosmith. He wrote Catch My Fall, correct?
Yeah, he co-wrote it with us. Yeah.
Yeah. So then look what happens. They release that album. They bust their ass on it. And of course, it gets lost in the shuffle with all the other bands around that era, and everybody's scrambling, trying to make a living. And next thing you know, I lose touch with you guys for a while.
The interesting thing is about it got lost in the scramble in America, but not in Europe. In fact, Strength in Numbers was bigger in Europe and Japan than Don't Come Easy was.
That's great. I did not know that.
And when we did the 20th anniversary tour of Strength in Numbers, I really found that out because the UK audiences were really rabid for it, and we did what you do. We played the entire album.
Right. And you released a live album on that one too.
Yeah. That was a great tour. We had so much fun. Those tours are the great ones because you appreciate what you're doing. You don't do it. When I was in 1991, I thought I deserved all that attention. I was like everybody else. I was stupid. You learn that's not really how it works.
Yeah, and you don't take things for granted. I had Johnny Gioeli on the show, who's from Queens, by the way. And he tells me the same thing. He has a whole career with Hardline over in Europe. And I'm like, it gets me so mad. And this is why I do what I do as a passion, Danny, to expose people to you and Johnny and all the bands, because we need to get live music back here. If you want to hear the music here, you have to support the bands. Okay. Johnny's not going to bring Hardline over here if nobody buys the records or nobody, there's no demand for it, and just like you said, there's a whole different musical climate over in Europe, a whole different musical climate. And that's where we're at, Frontiers Records, they're based in Italy,
Yeah. And the European fans, particularly the people that are keyed into Frontiers, they know that in order to help the bands do what you're talking about, they have to buy the physical product. Spotify doesn't pay for anything.
Right.
So it's great that people listen to it, but in the end, the band can't tour because they can't put petrol in the tank.
Exactly. Petrol. See, that's not a Brooklyn boy talking. That's somebody from Spain.
The Brooklyn boy will take a little while, but he might come out.
Right. Now, let's put this into perspective, Danny. Forever Young got 5.3 million hits on YouTube. How much did you make off of that?
Nothing that I'm aware of.
There you go. Okay. So please, everyone, support live music, support by buying the CD, the physical CDs, buying the digital downloads. Okay. That's what I always say that. So we're going to brush through Tyketto up into your solo stuff, but I just want to mention, so you had some little bit of difficulty where you had to leave the band, and they wind up getting Steve Orgerian from Journey.
Yeah. Well, not yet.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He came in and he was the vocalist.
What was the band he was from?
Tall Stories.
Tall Stories, very well said. And I think that first Tall Stories album is in the top 3 of that entire genre. Like with Mr. Big, Lean Into It.
Absolutely. Great vocalist. Great vocalist. You couldn't have got a better guy. Just the wrong time. And
this will sound like a name dropping session, but the point is that we were all so close, right? Steve Orgeri was working on Staten Island at a club called the Red Spot, where we used to hang out and get very hammered all the time. I met him because I lived 2 blocks away from James Lomenzo in Brooklyn. And we just spotted each other one day going,
"Hey, how you doing?"
We're the only 2 long-haired guys in the whole neighborhood. What's up with that? And so he and I have been very close ever since. He introduces me to Steve. So when I left Tyketto, I was actually the one who said, guys, Steve Orgeri isn't in Tall Stories anymore. And he's right up the road. He'd be a great, because they wanted to go on. And of course, they have my blessing.
Yeah.
So, Steve came in and did the Shine album with them and did at least 1 tour, maybe more.
Right. And by the way, Steve went on to sing in Journey.
Yeah.
Singing Journey. And
their rival album was really good.
Yes. So then you went on to release 2 more albums. 2012 was Digging Deep, which I'm being honest with you, I was with it, still a fan, but I was like
I
this.
get it.
You hit your stride with 2016 with Reach.
Yeah, I agree
That
with you on counts.
that song and album, well, I was like, holy shit, Tyketto. Where the fuck have they? That's exactly what I said. Where the F have they been? And that song was stuck in my head, and that's when I started getting back into you guys and saying, okay, they're back. You guys played the Monsters of Rock cruise. You know, you guys were doing some touring, and that was great. That was awesome.
Yeah, I was, the thing about
That's with Frontiers Records, by the way. I do a lot of work with Frontiers. I have a lot of people from Frontiers on here.
yeah, well, they put out a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Digging Deep was a fractured project from the beginning because, of course, the idea was to put the original band back together again, which hadn't been together for a while.
Yeah, a long time.
And it just didn't work out from a writing perspective. Brooke was living in Vegas, and he was playing in a show band there called Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. And he was very busy, so we would go out to Vegas and try and write with him in between what he was doing. And it just was very, very fractured. So we didn't have, it's one of the only times we didn't do what we thought was best, because we thought we need to put more time into writing this before we release it. But at that point, there was some pressure to kind of get going and record. So we went with what we had.
Right.
And I still think there's several of songs like Faithless and Here's Hoping It Hurts. To me, these are top level Tyketto songs.
Absolutely.
But there's a few on there that aren't, and there's no question with that.
I was going to say Faithless is the highlight of that album to me.
Yeah, there's a couple on there that I truly love. I
mean, played that live too.
Yeah, we played quite a few of them live. But with Reach, we didn't do anything until the whole band was going, yeah, this is the one, let's do it. And personally, for me, Reach is Tyketto's best album.
There you go.
That's just me.
You know what, Danny? Not a knock on the first album, because I'm partial to that, because that's when I met you guys and was supporting you guys, and it's my youth. But I gotta say, man, Reach is the fucking album, and I can say fuck on here. It's my show. Reach is the album, Danny. Reach is the album. So when you guys get back together, I'm sorry to interrupt you. When you guys get back together soon, hopefully, fingers crossed, for the new Tyketto album, that's where you're going to start. You're going to start from there and move forward.
Yeah, that's been daunting for us, because I've actually, because of lockdown and all that, I've just been working on other projects. So I'm not really started thinking about writing a Tyketto album yet. But we're starting to talk about it a little.
All right. Well, listen, you got a fan here, and you can come on my show anytime you want because you're part of the family now. But I want to talk about myths, legends, and lies.
All right.
Okay. This is your masterpiece, I have to say, as far as songwriting goes. It's a stylistic departure. So if you're fans now and you're just starting to get into Danny and you listen to Don't Come Easy, then you listen to Myths, Legends, and Lies, you're going to be like, what the hell? It's completely different. Well, that's what he wants. But I will tell you, this man in front of me tells a story when he writes a song. When you're listening to these songs, it's like you're reading a book, and if you like to read, you're reading a story and you're hearing a story in your head. And I'm sure that's what you wanted to get, because I know one of your influences is Bernie Taupin from Elton John.
Yes, that's true.
So who's a great lyricist, and Bruce Hornsby, who I love.
Oh, I really appreciate you saying all that, because that was my goal. I tell people, it's like, I wanted to at least attempt to step in the ring with Bruce Hornsby, Don Henley, Bernie Taupin. Even if I get my ass kicked, I want to try, So
you did it.
It's not an acoustic album. It's full band, but there's all kinds of stuff going on. And what it is over the years, I'm always writing. And if anybody that's ever heard any of my other solo albums, there's always one or two songs on them that are like, oh, that's a little odd. That's that, and I call those my orphans. And all of a sudden I realized I had about 18, 19 orphans. They didn't have a place on a Tyketto album. They didn't have a place even on my solo albums, because they were pretty eclectic. And I just thought, I'm going to give this
Soldiers and Sailors and Fearless are his two solo albums, if you want to get them.
Yeah. Yeah, those are
Give
the
you
two
a plug
ones
for
I did
that.
myself, and then we did the projects with Frontiers and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
So these songs are kind of all over the place and various influences from, like I said, Hornsby to Sting.
John Hyatt.
John Hyatt, absolutely. There's an Irish fight song on there.
Yeah.
Good
My
folk.
favorite song on the album is Something I Picked Up Along the Way.
Oh, that would be Tom Waits.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's like a and Missouri Kid. I
Don't
love.
sing like
No, I know, right? And Missouri Kid is a great song.
Thank you.
But yeah. So that's his latest in 2019, right, Danny?
Yeah, yeah.
But you can pick that up. Where can they pick that up?
Easiest place to find that is on my website, DannyVaughn.com.
DannyVaughn.com, which will be posted.
Double gatefold vinyl as well for
Yeah. Yeah,
and I need to mention it with the vinyl because I know that collectors are really into this sort of thing, because we self-funded the album. The fans paid for it ahead of time, and therefore I was able to make the album I wanted with the players I wanted in the place I wanted, and that included mastering it at Abbey Road Studios in London.
Wow.
And the vinyl is so beautiful because of that. They did a separate vinyl master just using the equipment the Beatles used.
Yeah. Abbey Road is where Beatles recorded that, kids, in case you want to know.
Yes, and not just the Beatles.
Well, you know what I mean. Yeah, everybody.
Pink Floyd did Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here there. It's a long list. All the Star Wars music, all the Indiana Jones music, all done in Abbey Road Studios.
Awesome. So, like I said, his latest solo album is called Myths, Legends, and Lies. It's a stylistic departure from Tyketto, but it is a masterpiece as far as songwriting goes. If you're a fan of his influences, such as, like he said, Bruce Hornsby, Don Henley, John Hyatt, Tom Waits, among many others, it's sort of like, I would call it, what would you call it? Americana? I mean,
yeah, I think so.
Americana is a good term to use.
Yeah. We've got fiddle players on it, and there's it ventures into there's a couple songs that are country-ish or modern country. It's kind of all over the place.
Right.
But that's what's nice. For me, I like to write sometimes with no prearranged ideas of what's going to happen, and that's why you end up with some oddball songs like that.
I know. I found it crazy that you're from. Not rich, but I'm just saying the band was based in Brooklyn. You lived in Staten Island. You're from the East Coast like me, and you're writing a song like the Missouri Kid.
Well, but the story of Missouri Kid is that, I grew up in Manhattan, and my first band used to rehearse at the Music Building, which was 29th Street, something like that. Anyway, down in the Garment District. And the Missouri Kid is a story of a homeless guy who we used to run into all the time on the corner. And that's what he called himself. And
okay.
Back then,
I'm the Missouri Kid.
We didn't pull any punches. He was a bum.
Yeah, I know.
We were nice to him. You know what was on the corner? You remember Blimpie?
Oh, of course. It's still around.
Blimpie's
horrible sandwiches.
Blimpie, I loved them. They were the best.
Oh, did
we go in and buy a Blimpie and give him some. And so here was this guy that, as far as we saw, had no redeeming qualities whatsoever. We'd even sit down and chat with him once in a while. He told his name was Tony, and he'd say, "You don't know me." He said, "You don't know nothing about me." He said, "I'm the Missouri Kid." And we were like, "Okay, Tony, have another."
There you go. But he was a legend in his own zip code.
One day, for reasons I can't remember, we're sitting with him and chatting with him, and he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a deck of cards, and he starts doing the hand-to-hand shuffles and the overhand. And it's like, holy shit! He really knew what he was doing.
That's the Missouri Kid.
He had this thing, and there was it. Yeah, so that was it. And that's Missouri Kid is the first song I ever wrote.
Awesome. That's one of the best on there. Missouri Kid.
Yeah, it got on there just for benefit of being almost 40 years old.
Wow.
I changed it from where it started because, of course, I knew a lot more about music recently than then. But
yes,
it held up. I felt it was strong enough.
Two other projects I want to talk about before we go. The one is called Snake Oil and Harmony that you do with Dan Reed from the Dan Reed Network. Fans of him can know that Danny's playing together with Dan Reed.
Yeah, we put the album. The album was supposed to come out on the night of our first
Hurricane Riders.
Yeah, and the band is called Snake Oil and Harmony. it's Dan and I trade, harmony vocals, and we tour acoustically together. It's kind of a storytelling thing as well. Dan and I have both lived very interesting but very different lives.
Yeah.
And so we did 3 tours together, and then we released the album. The first night of the last tour was March 19th, 2019. I'd been in London for 3 days doing press for that album and for Myths, Legends, and Lies. And we were supposed to play that night in London, and that was going to be the debut of the album. Dan calls me at 7 a.m. He's in Prague, which is where he lives. And he was supposed to fly in that morning. He goes, dude, they're canceling flights.
Oh boy.
Get out of there or you're not going to get home.
Yeah.
That was it. So we've got this big box of CDs that nobody's got. So the tour's been postponed twice. Now it's November 25th, I think, is the first day of the UK tour.
But you'll get up there and go again.
Yeah,
Right.
we hope. Like I said, the album's been sitting there for 2 years now, waiting to be heard.
The next project, it's not yours. You're a guest vocalist on Circus of Rock. That's on the Frontiers label as well. That's
Right.
from Mirka Rantanens.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce it right?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah.
I think it might
And
be
this-
like Rantanen.
I heard the song though. It's a kick-ass song. It's called "Caught in the Middle," not the Dio song.
No.
It's completely different. That's my favorite Dio song, by the way.
That's one of the nice things is that we can work from home.
Yeah.
I also did 2 songs on a project called Barnabas Sky for a wonderful musician in Germany, and that's coming out. That stuff actually sounds a bit like Dio. It's pretty cool.
Ooh, I'll look forward to that.
So,
But I'm so glad I reconnected with you, Danny. I mean, and I'm so glad I can tell the fans and get you out here and get your name out here more, that they got to get this CDs and they have to buy your CDs and they have to start, like I said, start with the Tyketto and go up to Reach is a great CD from Tyketto, and also his latest Myths, Legends, and Lies. But now, Tyketto, we're going to end with Tyketto.
all right.
I know you guys got tour dates in 2022, right?
Yeah, short UK run in March.
Okay. Now, Michael's obviously it's you and Michael in the band.
Mm-hmm.
And who you round out the band with?
Well, we've had Jed Rylands, originally from the band 10 and Rage of Angels. He's been our keyboard player and backup vocalist for easily 8-9 years now.
Okay.
And he's just a wonderful person, a great musician. We love him. Greg Smith is the most recent addition, playing bass.
Cool.
He's played bass with absolutely everyone.
Yeah.
Anything from Rainbow to Ted Nugent to Tokyo Motor Fest, you name it. Greg's there. And,
Ted Pulley and
and our guitar player is Chris Green. He's been with us for several years now. He co-wrote the Reach album with me and Michael.
yes, Chris.
And,
I know.
originally from the band Furion, and he is a bit of a wonderkind on the guitar. I'll say,
Awesome.
I'll go no farther than that. He's amazing.
Now, what's the plan with Tyketto? I know you said you already were thinking about new music. Are you signed? Are you with Frontiers? Are you signed to Frontiers?
Yes.
As far as
Yes.
solo work or Tyketto?
Mhm.
So can we expect a Tyketto album?
That's what Frontiers is starting to ask us. So, and I don't know the answer to that. There's been no moves really to write anything. Normally, I've got a couple of things kind of in the pocket, and I can just say, "Hey guys, have a listen to this, see what you think." But I got to be honest with you, I've been working on other projects and other things at home, and it's just not really been my focus. So,
All right, so we got to.
don't know. And the problem with Tyketto in general is that, we're not at a level where, like, for instance, you have a band like, well, you mentioned before, you thought we had a gold record. We never did.
I didn't want to say it, but you said it.
But and I don't mean to embarrass you with that. Everybody thinks that.
I thought it was a gold record, and good thing I said it to you because I was going to introduce you that way.
No, everybody thinks Tyketto is much bigger than we were. We have this fantastic underground buzz that's, we get mentioned in the same breath as bands that have sold 10 times the albums we have.
Yeah.
Which is very, very flattering. So the problem is that it's not like Firehouse, who pretty much can go out and play across America every weekend. That's what they do. They go out for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every week, end of the year. They do great. We can't do that. We don't draw those kind of numbers. So the other side of it is that you get, like, for instance, Michael, Michael runs the biggest booking agency in the tri-state area. So allowing him to even be away from his office and home
Why
for
would he do it?
3 weeks. No, it's not why. It's that he can't afford it. If Tyketto was paying the bills, he'd be gone in a heartbeat. You know, he lives for playing those drums.
Yeah.
So we have to very carefully pick our moments and our times when we can take time off to tour, take time off to write, take time off to record. So it's unfortunately that's why
That's the business side of it.
Yeah.
It's called the music business for a reason.
Yeah, and people have families, and you know, if Tyketto can't support them, which we can't, they got to do other stuff.
Yeah, I got you, and that seems to be a running theme for a lot of the artists that I interview. You know, they got to do 5 different what they made on one project back in the day. They have to do 5 projects to make it. You know,
Exactly. We're all jugglers now, man.
yeah, but yeah. So we'll hope keep our fingers crossed for that. Hopefully the stars align and we can get some new music from Tyketto. I would love to see you guys, which is going to be hard in the States. I understand that, but you never know.
Yeah, well, I mean, a couple of years back, we did a couple shows in the area, and we did one in Manhattan actually, which was really cool.
Where'd you play?
Oh, I can't remember the name of the place now. I'm so bad with that.
Wow, see, I missed that.
And I did a couple of acoustic shows as well at the Mexicali in Teaneck.
Oh, in Jersey, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and that's a great club to play. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to give him a plug. Nicky Camp. I'm sure you know Nicky. He's a legend. Yeah, Nicky, who had Blackthorn, which I had him on my show. Right. Blackthorn closed, but it's going to be reopening. So we're going to be getting live music back into Queens. So you never know. Never say never.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, Michael definitely knows Nicky.
Oh, yeah, Michael's been around. Michael knows everyone. But listen, I want to thank Danny Vaughn for being on the show today. I can't thank him enough. And by the way, you never age. You look the same as I remember you 30 years ago, except for the gray. But I mean, you still got all your hair. You're like Dorian Gray. You didn't age.
Oh, thank you, man. I'll come on your show anytime you want.
But I want to thank Mike. I want to thank Danny Vaughn for coming on the show. Everybody pick up those albums that we talked about, and you can get Danny's all his information at DannyVaughn.com.
Yep.
Correct?
That's the easiest place to go.
Awesome, Danny. It's great talking to you. And like I say, you're part of the Rock Shop family now, so you can come back anytime you want.
All right. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I haven't heard that accent in a little while, so now I'm going to go upstairs and talk to my wife. Hey, give me some coffee, will you?
You know what? I'm going to bring it up now because it seems to be the running joke during interviews. And I've done about 50 interviews over the last 8 months. And I've interviewed a French guy from France, Stefan. I've interviewed an English girl from England. And they always talk about my accent. The only 2 people that didn't talk about my accent was Joey D'Onofrio, he was in Goodfellas. He played young Tommy, and Johnny Gioeli. They were like, "Wow, I love this. Is great. It's like I'm back in the old neighborhood, you know."
Yeah, that's it. Now that happens to me when I get back and start talking to Mike and a few of the guys. It comes back. It resurfaces.
You got to say, "Forget about it. Forget about it."
Exactly.
But Danny, great talking to you. Great seeing you, brother. I wish you nothing but continued success, health, wealth, and happiness.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, man.
Take care, buddy. Bye now.